Hey, what's up everybody? It's Lids, and we're back for some more Gwent, and today is of course the first day of the new Gwent Chronicles expansion, and with it a bunch of new, powerful, and incredibly interesting cards. There is a new Trial by Fire seasonal event in which you can get access to a pre-made deck that will give you some of those new cards, so if you have not yet crafted those, then you can check them out here. However, I have already made several decks for all the new cards, so for that reason today we will be playing in Standard. So before we get started, let's go look at the deck. So today we'll be playing a Skellige Patricidal Fury deck, which, for what it's worth, did get a 1 power buff in the most recent patch. So Patricide is now a 12-point unit rather than an 11-point unit. Not that he really needed that, but he is now stronger. So that's a little bit of a bonus. But the big thing is that we are building around the new Skellige cards, which are all warriors. So that is the theme of the deck. And with that, we have a bunch of small but high-frequency pings of damage. So the new cards are things like Sove, the new legendary, which at 11 points and immune is a huge point slam, but his big thing is actually his order, which will summon a beast from our deck to our opponent's side of the board and infuses that beast with a Death Wish ability. If we can destroy that beast, then Sove gets boosted by twice the base power of that beast. So that means we want a high base power beast, but one that we still feel confident enough that we have enough damage to destroy. Probably one that doesn't cost too many provisions, otherwise we're wasting a bunch of provisions on a unit that we are not actually going to play ourselves, and one that, if we happen to draw into, okay, it's not the end of the world if we absolutely need to play it directly from our hand. So for that reason, we have a few beasts, most notably Raging Bear, because at 8 base power, that is a great way to boost up Sove, and at just 5 provisions, that's solid value. And in that case, obviously, we're just summoning it, not deploying it, so it's not going to damage any cards on their side of the board, but if we do need to play it, then just play it on your first turn in that round, and it's still 8 points, so not terrible. If you do draw into Raging Bear, or for whatever reason just can't use this combined with Sove, then you do have a backup plan or two, those being your little Havfrues, which are basically just, they're a plan B. They're smaller at just 6 base power, so they are easier to destroy if you're concerned about maybe not having enough damage to destroy that Raging Bear, but it does also mean that they're worth less if you do destroy them, not going to be as big of a boost on Sove. But that's the idea with Sove, and so in general, probably going to want to play him in, I think, round 1 or round 2, because that way, not only is he a big point slam, but also gives you a little bit of thinning on a card that you otherwise wouldn't really like to be playing. The other new, and I think possibly even more significant card, is Ulula, who's also a warrior, but her big thing is that she has a little bit of damage on her order ability, but more importantly, whenever an enemy unit takes damage from one of our warriors, damage it by 1 again, ignoring its armor, and that includes herself, so in essence, that's really a 3-point damage order ability. So the big thing with her is that warriors in general have lots of high frequencies, so just tons and tons of little bits of damage that just happens all the time. Not as much in the way of big chunks of damage, but that means that basically every time we deal damage, we are dealing 1 extra damage. So if you do focus on lots of those little pings, then you have what is basically twice as much power as usual. So that is just incredible. So I'm really excited to see all the various ways we can put Ulula to good use here, because there are a lot of cards that synergize with her. Those include, perhaps most significantly, Hemdall, because that means you can potentially double his damage, which, if your opponent has a lot of units in a row, is crazy tempo. So that's a great one to combine with Ulula. Another good one is Harald on Craite, and I love how many of the new cards in this expansion are ones that synergize with the archetypes from the Master Mirror expansion, legendaries that evolve when you have Devotion, and we do have Devotion. So that means by round 3, Harald turns into Harald the Cripple, at which point we play a Bronze Warrior from our graveyard and give it Doomed. And as we will soon see, basically all those warriors have damage as well, so those also combine well with Ulula. And whenever we play a warrior, we also damage a random enemy unit by 1, which means even more ways to load up on even more damage with Ulula. So especially in a long round, that just adds up so much. So that's another incredible card, but in that case, probably want to save that for round 3 if you can. Then we have Dagur, who of course gets boosted whenever we do that damage, so if you can set him up, then he could be humongous too. In terms of the big bursts of damage, in case your opponent has a really big unit that you want to destroy, then this is probably our best option. The Rupture damages a unit based on its base power, so still not great if your opponent has boosts, but high base power cards use this to get rid of them. And then Covenant of Steel, because we do have some high-value gold cards, like Ulula, like Dagur in particular, those are probably the two that you're most concerned about. Covenant of Steel is here to help protect them, because the longer Ulula and the longer Dagur are on the board, the more value they can get. Then, outside of that, more tall removal with Champion's Charge, again, because otherwise, when we're going to look at our units, those tend to be little high-frequency pings of damage, not as much in the way of outright removal. So 5 damage, or ideally, if you get Bloodthirst 3, just remove a card altogether, which, with your leader ability, you can guarantee. Which reminds me, one thing to note with Ulula, in particular, when using Patricidal Fury, because Ulula will give us the extra damage from all of our warriors when we damage a unit. Arnulf the Patricide is a warrior, so that means that if you use him after you have Ulula on the board, he will damage those Deafening Sirens again and actually destroy them. So usually, Patricide is, 12 points minus the 3 points from the Sirens, so he's a huge card, yes, but you counteract that a little bit with the points you're giving your opponent. In this case, though, he's just a pure point slam, nothing on your opponent's side of the board if you already have Ulula on the board, which is good from a pure point scoring standpoint. However, if you're deliberately trying to use Patricide to activate some of your Bloodthirst abilities, then that's a bad thing, because having a bunch of 1-power units on your opponent's side is great for activating Bloodthirst. So just be careful with the timing of Patricide and Ulula. Depending on what you want, if you just want pure points, you're fine if you have Ulula and then use Patricide, but if you want to have your Bloodthirst set up, and that helps get you extra damage to set up things like Sove, then it may make sense to use Patricide and then Ulula so that you don't accidentally destroy all those Sirens instead. So just a quick note on that. Otherwise, Herkja, another gold that deals a lot of little pings of damage, and therefore, again, perfect combination with Ulula, so love to see this when you can have those two in the same round. When we have all of our warriors on the board, we can use our Bard here to basically just be a point slam, boost them all, so longer the round, the better. And then we get to all of the bronze warriors, and those are the ones that are going to have the damage for us. And it means that even weak warriors, some of which, in this case, I can't believe Drummond Berserker got a provision buff from 5 down to 4. He is incredible value at this point. Again, 1 point of damage per turn. Great with Ulula. Was already pretty solid. Brokvar Hunter, played early. 1 damage every other turn. Brokvar Archer also got a provision buff. A card that previously didn't see a lot of play, but assuming that you can get a lot of damage units on your opponent's side of the board, again, with your leader ability, with Ulula, that is definitely something you can do fairly easily. This can be another form of tall removal. On Craite Marauder, make sure you play in the melee row, but otherwise, lots of little bits of damage means combines wonderfully with Ulula. You're probably sensing a theme here. Then another new card is Brokvar Warrior, which this one's a little more complicated than people gave it credit for, because they saw all the damage and they thought this is fantastic, and it can be, but notably, you need to make sure that in order to get this deployability chaining from one enemy to the next, you cannot destroy that card altogether. So ideally, you hit the first enemy and you weaken it so that it is below its starting power. Then you can do that again, that time with 2 damage, and then after that, you get the 1 point of damage. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what you do with that. But if you combine that with Ulula, again, means more damage there as well. So lots of potential for spreading the damage big time with this Brokvar Warrior, which means tons of Bloodthirst, which sets up a bunch of our other stuff as well. So outside of that, we have, again, the beasts, which ideally are just there for Sove, so if you see them, for the most part, you're trying to mulligan them. We do also have Feral Bond, which, speaking of Bloodthirst, is in large part what this is all about. So it is a raid, and it will spawn Skellige Wolves, which, as you see here, is a new token. It's a 2-point token. So when we spawn it, we'll damage it by 1, so it's another damaged unit on our opponent's side of the board, 1-point damage unit, so that's great for activating Bloodthirst. If we are already at Bloodthirst 3, this will get stronger still, but initially, it creates a Bronze Skellige Warrior. That means we will have a choice between 3 random Bronze Skellige Warriors, which already, given how we have a lot of warrior synergies here, is not bad. But if you have the Bloodthirst 3 when you use this, and the wolf that you spawn in and damage does count toward that, so not that difficult to make this happen. And again, leader ability basically guarantees that it will happen. But then you can spawn and play any Bronze Skellige Warrior that you'd like. And so that gives you tons of options, tons of flexibility, lots of ways to, for the most part, deal damage, but there are a few boosting options there, or in the case of the On-Craite Greatsword, just base power that gets increased whenever you deal damage. So that's also potentially something to consider there. So those are our various cards that we have in the deck here. In general, it's all about dealing little bits of damage as often as possible and using things like Ulula in particular to double down on all of that damage, and then with a little bit of extra point slammage with Sove as well. So I'm really excited to try this deck out. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So let's go see it in action. All right, so going up against Scoia'tael here, and we'll go first. All right, so let's see. What do we have to start off here? We have Hemdall. That's potentially great if we can set him up. And Harald, which we'd like to save for at least round 2, if not round 3, when he becomes stronger. Then potentially some tall removal with Champion's Charge, but just about everything else here is a bronze. And those bronzes can be valuable when combined with Ulula in particular, but we don't have her right now. Little Havfrue is primarily there to be a combination with Sove, but we want to keep them in deck, not in hand. There is Sove. Okay, so I think this immediately becomes what we're building around in round 1 in that case. What would we like to combine with him? I mean, this could work right here. That is arguably enough as is. Potentially swap out some of those warriors, but I mean, they do give us some additional damage to help set up Sove, and we are on blue coin, which means we can use Curse Scroll to help us out further. What, if anything, is most desirable? Could go with a Herkja to get the, oh, no, we should go Blood Eagle, just so we have the flexibility of getting whatever we need. But let's start. Don't need to rush Sove. In fact, we'd like to wait a little bit until we have more damage units on the board. So set up the Hunter for some proactive damage. Hawker Smuggler we'd like to remove before they do, yeah. Hand boosting would be annoying, because that would slow down our Bloodthirst. So we could do Feral Bonds. Gives us 1 damage unit on their side. We can obviously hit you with Brokvar Hunter, and we don't know necessarily what we're going to get with this. Unless we go Leader ability first, which we might want to do to set up Sove, but that might not be necessary if we can get enough value from our Bronze Warriors. So let's go here, and let's see what we can get. Bleeding is not really good enough. A second Hunter? I mean, this early in the rounds, I think we'll go for it. Gives us lots of time to benefit from that damage, so Berserker wouldn't have been bad either, but we have one of these in hand, and they have a limited number of damage, limited amount of damage before they get converted into the Bear Abomination, at which point they no longer deal damage. So in the interest of maximizing damage, 2 Hunters is definitely nice. Okay, Sorceress. Talk about cards we'd like to damage as well. But in this case, just poke it, and then it is going to be having a rough time. I mean, we could just destroy it altogether with the Champion's Charge, which, yeah, it's trading a 7 provision cost card for 6 provision cost card. I mean, even that's not terrible. But maybe we go another Feral Bond here and see what we get, and surely we're going to at least get the chance to hit it for 1 damage, right? These guys, unfortunately, are both on cooldown, which kind of stinks. I mean, Archer, for what it's worth, is guaranteed to at least give you a decent bit of damage, but the longer we wait on that, the stronger it might become. So let's do this. And now we have Bloodthirst 3, so we actually can do anything we'd like with this warrior here. So many options in that case. And another Hunter this early, again, is kind of tempting. Tell you what, though. We can't quite chain this perfectly, but we'll do it anyway. So what you want to do with this guy is you actually want to avoid the death blow. Because if you get the death blow, it stops the number of times you can chain his damage together. So I deliberately hit the Sorceress first, which by dropping her down that low, she can no longer use her order ability unless they boost her up further. But I suppose, I hit her with a 3 damage, then I hit the Smuggler with the next round of 2 damage, which by destroying it would have prevented us from getting the last 1 point damage, but those were all immune units anyway. So maybe not a big deal after all. So now, I mean, we could, at this point, Brokvar Archer plus these Hunters is worth a ton. Berserker does have a way to deal damage that could potentially hit these wolves, which if we can remove them, could mean we can spawn them on our side, which would be kind of nice. So maybe we do, I kind of like keeping the damaged cards on their side, because then it does make it easier for us to set up a bunch of our other Bloodthirst cards. So maybe we deliberately hold back a little bit and don't immediately destroy everything, dare I say. Yeah, we'll do this. Deliberately holding back. Deliberately holding back our damage because I love all these and we're almost certainly, yeah, gonna destroy one of them with the Berserker, yes, but deliberately not destroying stuff because, yeah. Love that round. Technically, should have used Curse Scroll, I suppose, to have gotten the Blood Eagle earlier. Suppose you could still justify going one turn later just to make that happen. But again, deliberately did not destroy stuff because it meant stronger Archer, more Bloodthirst on the board to facilitate Sove, which we just didn't even need in this round, but we still have our leader ability to help set that up, so that's not too tricky. And of course, our round 1 is our weakest round in theory, because that means Harald is at his minimum power. I think we will still end the round here. Would have been nice, of course, to have gotten the chance to use Curse Scroll and guarantee we get Blood Eagle, but we'll settle. Alright, so we played one more card than our opponent, which may mean that we want to keep this round short, although we have a really solid hand here. Drew into Herkja and our Bard to boost all of our warriors at the end of a round. Long round is good for that, because that means more warriors on the board, more of a point slam. But if we are just looking to play a couple cards and then call it a round and save for a long round 3, then that could mean that we could throw these guys down on the board and have them be our throwaways, but neither of them make a lot of sense. Neither of them make a lot of sense on turn 1. Wow. Well, we drew into Dagur as well, so our hand is pretty amazing. Not a huge fan of the little Havfrue. In fact, we would have preferred to have had some of the other bronze warriors instead, because this is a backup plan for a target for Sove. I mean, we could honestly push 2-0 here, just because this hand is, outside of the Havfrue, pretty darn incredible. What would we use Sigrdrifa's Rite on at this point? Nothing amazing, unless one of our other high priority cards happens to get destroyed. Yeah, wow. I guess we'll go little Havfrue. It's basically doesn't cost us anything. You know, it's a card we didn't really intend to play anyway, so we can throw it away, and if we feel inclined to counter whatever they start playing here, then we could. Like a Whisperer, which, that's 1 damage. This is obviously guaranteed 3 right here. That's obviously enough. It's a little bit awkward, but it is theoretically possible if we wanted to push hard to take it out. It is theoretically possible. I mean, one of the other reasons why I'm considering still going a little bit further is because I do like Sove early to get the thinning happening so we don't draw into stuff like little Havfrue when we don't really want it. So, tell you what, we'll drop Herkja. I won't use her order ability, but I will do this. It's a little bit overkill right now because we only have 1 unit over here, but there's some serious potential to stack big time Bloodthirst in this range row right now, so I am tempted. It will remove Herkja. It will spawn in another sorceress, or rather a Whisperer. That means start of their next turn, damaged by 1, damaged by 1. They have 2 points, we have 2 points. They need to play something else. We're both on 10 cards in round 3 if we'd like, so we could pass here and just say, okay, you know, sure, you took out Herkja. Now that means we have what is probably a better target for Sigrdrifa's Rite. Because otherwise we're going to use it on bronze, and that's just kind of overkill. But do we want to leader ability plus Sove is the big question, basically. And if so, then we want to go a fair bit further, I think, in the round. Let's go for it. Let's do it. I'm gonna put you here. Then gonna do this. Then gonna do this. And gonna go for the Raging Bear. So basically, we have 2 choices there. Can either go Raging Bear, which is the more ambitious option. It has 8 base power, which means it takes more for us to take it out. But, on the other hand, if we do destroy it, then it's worth more when we destroy it and boost up Sove in the process. But the other choice would have been to use the other little Havfrue we still had in our deck, and that would have been safer. Lower base power, so just easier to destroy it. Now we do want to go at least a little bit further, of course. We could guarantee we destroy it with Champion's Charge, so that's the obvious selection. Hemdall, I mean, yes, would be pretty solid, but let's see, Nature's Rebuke. does spawn in more stuff here. That's another reason why I kind of liked this prospect. Honestly, if we wait longer, then Hemdall could just absolutely decimate this row, which is kind of intriguing. But on the other hand, we could just shut down the spawning if we went. I mean, yeah, basically it's all a question of how ambitious are we being in round 2 here. Are we pushing 2-0, or are we just trying to, set up Sove for a big point slam, tempo pass, and force them to go cards down heading into round 3? That is theoretically an option. I mean, we could have gone Dagur before going Sove. We could have technically set up more Bloodthirst before we played Sove as well. So, lots and lots of options. I think, we want to obviously at least get this death blow. So, tell you what, it's not necessarily how I foresaw us using this. There were definitely other options, other ways to destroy that. Could have been Hemdall, but I'd kind of like to say that, especially if we can get Ulula in round 3, I think that could be amazing. And we'd like to have Dagur on the board when we use that, so it just felt like, especially since it wasn't going to necessarily directly target that Raging Bear, that maybe that wasn't the best choice for us to break out Hemdall here. So we will probably pass on our next turn. I was also considering using the Champion's Charge, Shutdown, Whisperer, so that they stop spawning in more of them, and then find some other source of damage to remove the Raging Bear, so that way we limit their point potential, and we still get our point slam on Sove. It would have been a little bit slower, would have meant we're going a little bit longer in round 2, which just didn't necessarily want to go that route. Because now we find that, okay, so if we pass here, they would need to get 16 points in one turn, which, I mean, with all their lead ability charges, is technically, it's actually not that difficult for them to do. It is possible. But the other reason why we were willing to do this in round 2 is because by using Sove, not only is it now a 27-point card, the other thing is that it thinned out a card that we didn't want to play. So I think that's one aspect of Sove that people overlooked. I mean, one thinning is not amazing, but it does mean we have a little bit better consistency going into round 3 with the cards we're going to draw here. So I am curious how they respond. If they go very aggressively here, they may be able to catch us in one turn. If so, then we're both probably going to have used all of our leader ability charges, and we'll be on even cards in round 3, we'll have last say. But if they don't go aggressively here, then they're probably going to have to go a card down in round 3, and that was kind of the hope. The ideal scenario, at least, giving us card advantage and double last say in round 3, so we'll see how they respond. It is Great Oak, so yeah, that is a big commitment. They probably are going for the boost, right? Yeah. It is. Oh, it's just barely enough. Wow, even without leader ability. Okay, I mean, that was probably their biggest card, and could have been a pretty good card for our Rupture, but we do still draw into one of our beasts. So that's one of the reasons, again, why we wanted to play Sove relatively early, was so that we didn't have the chance of drawing into as many of the little Havfrues and Raging Bears. But Ulula, this is huge, because when combined with Harald, Hemdall, and Dagur, that is just incredible potential there. Can use Sigrdrifa's Rite to get, I mean, we could technically summon Sove back out and just make him an 11-point body. Herkja might still be more valuable, because when combined with Ulula, she is pretty incredible herself. But, okay, I was hoping we could have gotten Blood Eagle there, I think, to get Covenant to Steel, just to make all of our high-value cards a little bit safer to play. So we do want to remove you, so that we can prevent you from getting the boosts when you play specials, because it does seem like they are obviously a very high special deck. So, order of operations here. We want to play you early, we want to play you early, we want to play you early. But what is the exact order of all that? It might still be Ulula first, then Harald, then Dagur, maybe Dagur before Harald, so that when we play Harald and potentially get a fair bit of damage, Dagur immediately gets boosted from that. Either way, I think it is probably still Ulula first. So again, lots of high-value cards here, which is why having Covenant to Steel would have been nice. Would have been nice. Now, it's going to be hard for them to address all of those high-value units, especially because they used a lot of their damaging specials in round 2. That's one of the reasons why they were able to catch us. So the longer Ulula stays on the board, the more valuable she becomes, because, for example, if combined with a last or second to last turn Hemdall, when they have a ton of units on the board, and that is just incredible value, especially if Dagur is on the board getting boosted from all that damage. Okay. Yup. And again, that's why we really wanted to see Covenant of Steel. But alas, we can go Herald, and obviously Herald is a Veiled unit, so he's not going to get locked. I mean, do they have another source of lock? In which case, we probably do want to go Herald first. If not, as I was saying, Dagur would get the extra boost from Herald's damage, so we probably prefer to go this route first. I mean, it's not like they're going to use their lock on Herald anyway, right? So it's not as if playing Herald first and then Dagur is going to make it any less likely for Dagur to get locked, I suppose. Technically, we may wanted to have gone, if we were going to do Sigrdrifa's Rite into Herkja, might have been worth doing that before getting Dagur on the board as well. That way, we immediately have a source of damage that is going to boost Dagur, because at 4 power, he is... I mean, there's one thing if he gets locked, but he is in removal range here. It is possible they could, especially if they go with a Simless Waylay Bomb. Or no, Bountiful Harvest. I mean, it is still possible they could destroy Dagur here, depending on what they get. This will now get boosted for sure. Yeah, I don't like the looks of that. Oh, is that a double Thon of Bowman? Oh, I love that, though. Yes, please destroy Ulula, because now we have the option of using Sigrdrifa's Rite to get Ulula. Okay. Ooh. They did not choose to get rid of Dagur. They got rid of Ulula. That opens up some very interesting options. Do you still go... So they presumably they did that because they think they can remove Dagur on their next turn. So that means if we go Sigrdrifa's Rite into Herkja and immediately use her order ability, that might be the best way to save Dagur here. On the other hand, getting Ulula back might be too good of an opportunity to pass up. I might be willing to sacrifice Dagur just to get Ulula back. Yes, Dagur's a 10, Ulula's an 8, but Ulula plus Harald and plus Hemdall, I mean, we could go Harald now. I guess we'll go Harald now is maybe the right way to balance this. Okay, so no death blow. Oh, you were 4. Yeah, so that meant you, then you was the best option for some reason. I just did not even see you. Or I thought you were also a 2. So yeah, best would have been hit you, and then hit Simloss with the last one, or hit you with the last one. So yeah, I did misplay that a little bit. Lost out on 1 extra proc of damage, and therefore 1 extra boost on Dagur. So the hope here was that that was going to at least boost Dagur up to make him maybe get out of removal range, although that 1 extra point of damage might have been the difference maker there. So then it's Ulula. Again, all these cards, things we want to play early. So the order of operations is interesting to consider. So there are definitely alternatives to what we've done already. Oh, it's Becker's Rockslide. Okay, I mean, yes, that was going to destroy Dagur pretty much no matter what. So fair enough. If that was your plan all along, then we'll let you do it. Sigrdrifa's Rite. Technically now, lots of options for this as well. What do we value most? Is it Dagur? Because when we use Hemdall, that still gives us pretty solid damage. Is it Ulula? Because that means more damage with Hemdall. Is it Sove for a pure point slam? It's probably not Herkja anymore. That is probably not the best play anymore. Oh, what is the most valuable? I think they're going to go pretty wide. They haven't yet, but they still have all their lead ability charges, and we have last say. So I think that means Ulula to set up Hemdall. I think is still best. I think is technically still best. I mean, Sove technically we could still use his order ability and summon out this Havfrue, which, when combined with Hemdall, we might have been able to still get the death blow with Brokvar Archer, maybe getting that finishing shot, or just a Rupture to get rid of it. I don't know. Again, lots of really cool options to consider with the new Skellige cards, so I'm curious to see how people choose to play them all. But these are some of the synergies that I think are going to make it really fun to do. Alright, Call the Forest. They've already used Simloss. Okay, we obviously want to hit that Sorceress pretty quickly, and we can with Ulula. So that alone is actually worth 3 damage, because she affects her own order ability. So that will drop you down to a 2, which means you're no longer capable of using your order. So that's theoretically reason enough to be fine with that for the time being. So, in which case, I mean, unfortunately, they've done a decent job of preventing our bloodthirst, because we've been focusing on bringing units back rather than maximize our damage. So the Archer is not going to have a ton of damage either way. I mean, we could do, technically speaking, this is enough to destroy the Sorceress, even if they have a way to boost her further. We might settle for that, because otherwise we're looking at a 4-point rupture, which is also not great. So I think we just settle for this. And between the damage from Harald, the extra damage from Ulula, this is why I wanted to get Ulula back, because this adds up very quickly. Does technically mean fewer units now in that row, especially after having gotten rid of Simloss. But hey, as I said, Deadeye ambush, expecting that. Now if they put all their Deadeyes in that row, I mean, they might. They might if they have, something like a Yavin, in which case that means a bigger Hemdall, but otherwise, removing units does mean less value for Hemdall. I think we are probably still looking at the Rupture here, in which case, it's 4 either way. I think because we actually want to have units in this row with Hemdall to set him up for more damage with Ulula, let's go for the Scribe so we keep you alive, rather than remove you. But damage from Harald because you're a warrior, and extra damage from Ulula because we got damage from Harald. So that's why, again, this is just incredible stuff here. Everything deals damage. You, however, are not a warrior. Okay, and they are spawning in this row, so I think they are going to use something like Yavin here and maybe use that to get rid of Harald. Oh, Gaetan, okay. Curious to see how this damage gets split in that case. We'd obviously love for Ulula to stick, and she does. So, I think for that reason, because we have some cards here that could potentially get removed on their last turn, I think we go Hemdall melee row here to get a ton of damage, and then we can use you to boost up all of our warriors. We could do this first and maybe get a little more value out of Hemdall, but again, 1 unit versus the basically double damage from Ulula. I think we want to make sure we get the double damage from Ulula, and she's on 1 power, so let's not take the risk that we lose her here, and the damage from Harald as well. So yeah, let's go here. Gonna try to keep cards, low power cards on the rightmost side in case they're about to destroy the rightmost card. But there is the crazy damage that we have when combining Hemdall, Ulula, and Harald together. It's Harald Gord, and they've played a lot of specials, so he is worth a fair bit. They have retaken the lead here, but we have a bunch of warriors on the board. Again, the longer the round, the better for you, but it's still decent value from the point slam, and definitely enough for us to take the win. Alright, so going up against Northern Realms here, and they'll go first. Alright, so let's see. We have Ulula, who is really strong, and we could even bring her back with Sigrdrifa's Rite in a later round, which I think could be worth doing. So I do like that. We have 2 of our 3 beasts in hand right now. We definitely don't want that. These are cards that are primarily just here to combine with Sove, you in particular. But then we have a lot of our bronze soldiers who are rather warriors, but those are really strong when combined with Ulula specifically. So this would be a bad hand if not for Ulula. But that does mean we're relying very heavily on her here. Okay, Blood Eagle, though, certainly opens up lots of options for us. Okay. I am guessing they might be doing the new stuff here. The Pincer maneuver. Crystal Skull maybe for a full test. Let's see. So, in which case, I mean, the earlier we play Ulula, the better. Then we can, on our next turn, take out this armor and... yeah. That's going to make it a little bit harder to use our Rupture. Don't know if the Death Blow or the Bloodthirst 3 yet for Blood Eagles, so I think we'll wait on that. We could go Feral Bond and just get a little bit of Bloodthirst early and get a warrior of our liking, or wouldn't have the Bloodthirst 3, so we would not have the choice of which warrior we go for there, but let's go with Ulula. A little concerned that we don't have, anything to distract our opponents, because I think it's pretty clear as soon as they see this that is a card they want to get rid of as quickly as possible. Alright, so leader ability. My primary question is this full test? It is not. Griffin Witchers. Okay. Okay. And the armor from the mantlet is going to make this frustrating to deal our damage to people, which is why I think we do very much want to take you out quickly, or at least remove your armor. So that's why I'm thinking we probably go for Brokvar Hunter here. And we go damage 1, damage 2, damage 3. Actually, we'd not be able to get you damaged in that case because you have that armor, which is a little bit unfortunate. So perhaps we take it a little bit slower and go Brokvar Hunter instead. And at least in doing so, we get an extra round of damage from the Hunter because we have Ulula here. Then with Ulula's damage, she also gets an extra point of damage from it. So that means we get rid of their source of all that armor, which was, again, going to make matters a little bit tricky when it came to us chaining together as much damage as possible. Immortals, ooh. It's another card that is strong because it wants to get hit. And as we would like to hit things, I don't like that about it. And therefore, it may be something that we want to rupture, although, obviously we don't want to hit it. Are they about to remove its shield? Probably. So the rupture may not be enough. May not be enough to take it out. That could be a little troublesome. Huh. Okay, otherwise, Feral Bonds might be worth doing here and just try to set ourselves up a little bit. We could get a, tell you what, Blood Eagle, Death Blow, Herkja. It has the chance. It does, or even Sove. Oh, okay, well, admittedly, if we were going to do that, we wanted to use Leader Ability first. So, gonna go Herkja for that reason. But, so this could end up hitting Immortals. It very well may. It will. But combining Herkja with Ulula is a combo that I really like. Okay, and the fact that they did not choose to do anything to set up shield removal on Immortals. I mean, again, because it has now received a boost, having lost its shield at some point does mean removing it with Rupture is considerably more difficult. But if we could ping you, deliberately remove your shield, get you up to a 10. The Rupture drops you down to 4, and then on our next turn, yeah, it's a real pain to try to get rid of that thing, isn't it? Alright, so I think instead then, we're either Brokvar Huntering, which is not going to get a perfect chain of damage, or Feral Bonding. Let's go 1, 2, and technically this is slightly overkill damage. We are likely to hit this again. Ugh. Like I said, this Immortals is just, it's a pretty darn solid counter to what we're trying to do here. It's going to cause us some trouble. So now Feral Bonds get something to deal with Temerian Drummer. Marauder, of course, has the random damage split, which could, and almost certainly will, hit Immortals, which be less than ideal. Love if you didn't have the Veil, because then we could use the Rupture on you, which at this point is perhaps just the best option overall. So, guess we'll do this. And not loving our options here. So if we have Bloodthirst, then we have the choice of a number of cards. But if we don't, then we're stuck with a random set of 3. Now we'd love for the random, yes. Herkja damage to hit you, and when combined with Ulula, means this is 2 damage per turn. It's just kept on hitting Immortals, which is not really helping us. If this does hit the Skellige Wolves, then we'll get, rather than a 1-power beast on their side, we'll get a 2-power beast on our side. Don't love that you're forcing us to draw into a card that we were hoping to just thin out through Sove, or just never see at all if we were going for the Raging Bear instead. But, I mean, it's 6 power, and no shield. Might this actually be our Rupture target? I mean, perhaps. We could go for Marauder and just accept that we're hoping that you hit this guy. Nah. I think we might need to just settle for the rupture there. What do we have in our graveyard? No. Nothing. Sigrdrifa's writable. Nothing we'd like to use Sigrdrifa's right on, at least. Okay. Yep. Unfortunate that we had to go this route, but again, given that Immortals was a oh, and that's also unfortunate for Herkja as well. Okay, yeah, now they're starting to realize they really need to do something about Ulula. This is what I was expecting them to do a while ago, was to remove the shield immediately on Immortals. So now, which is why I didn't necessarily want to try to hit it, and then, well, I mean, we just didn't really have a good way to take it out quickly enough to break through its shield and then still take it out altogether. So, and all these boosts are making it hard to get our Bloodthirst and hard to set up Brokvar Archer. You're just a point slam, and in round one, you're a bad point slam at that. We may need to settle for a Marauder here and accept the fact that it might hit Immortals. But we're hoping for it to hit the one card that it didn't hit. They'd like to get down to, well, this number right here, Adrenaline 3, where this Griffin Witcher is going to start dealing 3 damage every turn. And Erlands, we can destroy if we were to use Herkja here. So again, usually this would get locked at the Bloodthirst, or rather at the Adrenaline 3 mark, but because they put the Veil on it, that is not the case, so that was a solid combo. And at this point, we could take out Erlands with Herkja. Even with the immunity, she can still hit it. And that way they aren't getting the boosts on Erland. But at this point, I'm not really sure that makes a huge difference. They'll still keep the boosts in their deck in that case. It's more a question of just, can we do enough to catch them here? I mean, if we use leader ability, we definitely could. But I'm just not thrilled about that prospect. I'll tell you what, we'll do it. I'm going to go melee row. Then I'm going to go... Oh, right. So when you have... Interestingly enough, yeah. So this is a little unfortunate. I will do that, but I don't love it. We do catch them, in large part because of Patricide. If you already have Ulula on the board, Patricide is a warrior, which means he will deal the extra damage from Ulula, or Ulula will deal the extra damage to the Sirens that he spawns, which means technically Patricide is worth more points since he's not spawning weakened units on your opponent's side of the board. However, on the other hand, he, well, he's not giving you damage units on your opponent's side of the board, which is actually something that we would have liked in this case. So, in that way, it's kind of a good thing, but potentially a bad thing, combining these two, so just be very mindful of the order in which you use leader ability and Ulula. And having used Herkja's order as well, that means we no longer have the passive damage every turn that we were getting when combined with Ulula, which honestly was just perhaps causing more trouble than it was worth anyway when it kept on hitting Immortals. So now that we've used leader ability, that kind of stinks that we might still need to go down in this round. Well, we could, but you're going to get 3 damage here. We're going to get 5 if we do this. That puts us at 36, which means you still pass us, even if we do that. But if we do this, we're tied and force you to do something here, which not necessarily sure helps us that much, but all I wanted was to get this freaking Skellige Wolves, man. And we kept on hitting Immortals instead. Okay, now they're playing some stronger cards than Enika, whereas we are, you know, playing our throwaway cards that we didn't even want to play in the first place. So I think we do draw the line here. We just got walled so hard by Immortals. So that's an interesting thing to note. There are definitely some cards that, when you get unlucky and your random damage happens to hit them, can still shut down powerful combos in the new cards. And what we would have given for a Champion's Charge to remove it altogether, that could have been amazing, but alas, we didn't have it. We did play 1 fewer card than our opponent, so they may drive past here, in which case having something like the Invader as our throwaway would be nice. Otherwise, you know, we'd rather not have to use any of these things, really. So we may not have much choice in the matter. Sigrdrifa's right, I think, will be to get Ulula back again. And Blood Eagle will be to get Harald if we don't have a way to get him, or Hemdall, potentially. Champion's Charge, I mean, is a really nice form of removal. It's much harder to set it up now that we've already used leader ability, but yeah, I anticipated they might drive past. That's why I wanted to keep you. And of course, with Harald, we can play one Bronze Warrior from our graveyard in particular. So the cards you play in round 1, round 2, you do still have some ability to get back. All right, and there's Hemdall, which when combined with Ulula is fantastic. And if we have Dagur on the board when we do that, then he can become pretty huge as well. So I like that prospect. I think hopefully that's enough Bloodthirst to set up Champion's Charge removal. You're okay, but we definitely would like to get rid of you. There is Harald. Okay, so suddenly that means Blood Eagle could be for something else, and it would normally be Sove. The problem is that Sove is ideally our round 1 win condition, something that we were lacking before that we could have combined with our leader ability, but now the timing is just a little bit awkward for that. We could dump the Warrior. Okay, and that is potentially a finisher here. Better in a longer round with more Warriors. This round is a little bit shorter, so you're not going to be quite as effective, but let's see, I think it's order of operations wise. And Blood Eagle, just to double check. Honestly, might even be for Covenant of Steel rather than Sove. Just because it's going to be a matter of how much Bloodthirst we can get with you. We are going to go... I guess we can't do turn 1 anyway, because there isn't a target for you to go after. So, is it... Rather... Sigrdrifa's right into Ulula first? It might be. I think it probably is. Let's go melee row with this. Because that's, if we are going to use Covenant of Steel where we'd want to put it to help protect Dagur as well. Dagur could have been our first turn play, but this would just be inviting them to use whatever removal they may have. Whereas Ulula, at 6 power, it's possible they could remove her, but it would be quite difficult for them to do that with no additional setup ready to go. So my hope is they play a unit of some variety, we'll use Blood Eagle on it, hopefully get the death blow, although that's not guaranteed. I'd also like to get Harald out here early as well. Ooh. Ooh. So obviously, a card that they would like to boost. On one hand, an early Harald means that we can chain more damage from the Warriors, which when combined with Ulula, I think will be amazing. But this, when combined with Ulula's damage to get you into Blood Eagle range, I think is probably the opportunity that we were waiting for. It's technically a little bit overkill, because Ulula does give herself 1 extra damage with that, but I think we do this. We'll go Covenant of Steel here. No Sove. Again, round 1, I think, was really the time we needed him. So we're going to get Covenant of Steel here to protect Ulula, so we can set up more damage more safely. Then it's going to be Dagur. No! Get your caretakers out of here. Alright, well, we will still go for Dagur. Or, I mean, we could go Harald first, technically speaking. Prioritize damage, or rather, prioritize damage, prioritize boosts. Both are cards we'd like to play early. What are we going to get back with Harald? I mean, Harald might be to get something like Brokvar Warrior and chain some damage, which we would like to have Dagur on the board already when we do that. So maybe we do go Dagur first here. So now, there are 2 high-priority cards for them to address, and I imagine they cannot address both of them. Redanian Knight. Okay, the problem is actually going to be the Bloodthirst again, because with these boosts, it is going to be hard to break through armor and, well, the boosts to get people onto Bloodthirst. So, Champion's Charge, for example, might be rather difficult to set up, but let's go Herald the Cripple here. Now, with you, that also means that Brokvar Warrior was going to be our choice, but is now probably no longer the case. Brokvar Archer, if we already had a bunch of damage cards on the board, could have been a choice, but given how we don't, it's not so great. Early in the round, Brokvar Hunter, not bad. Point Slam with the Invader. Marauder is probably our most straightforward source of damage here. It is almost certainly going to get rid of your... or not get rid of your armor. We have not been the most fortunate when it came to how our damage has hit targets, have we? Alright, but with Ulula combined with Hemdall, that is our primary source of damage now. We could just remove you altogether with Champion's Charge, which honestly, given how we want to wait until you have more units on the board before using this, we'd ideally play you after playing Hemdall, although depends whether you're prioritizing damage or boost. I think that means either way. Remove their engine. We'd love for you to play everything in the same row, of course, to power up Hemdall, which you are doing, and once we saw you went Dulla, then could pretty much assume it was going to be Rune Rite as well. And, well, you don't have a single bronze, so Igor can't really do anything. Okay, you're purifying Harald, getting rid of the Veil. I'm not sure that's going to be a factor here. I mean, obviously you could lock him now, but it doesn't seem like that's all that likely. So we can either go Draig for boosting, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards, making you a 9, which is not bad. We can make him a 10 if we play him last, just matters, you know, are you trying to get a little more boost out of him, or are you trying to get a little more damage out of Hemdall? Technically, when combined with Ulula, we can get extra damage on Hemdall, so I think it is better to prioritize him, given the Ulula combo here, and given how that means also more boost for Dagur as well. So let's do this. Gets these guys a little bit higher up, so perhaps a little bit harder for them to be removed. He is not a warrior by himself, so it's not going to give us a proc of damage on Harald. I did want to see you play more stuff in this row. Not sure. Reset it. Well, resetting one of our cards is not going to matter much, but we are about to deal, hopefully, a bunch of damage to you, which means you might be able to reset some of your damage. Granted, that is going to boost up Dagur a lot. So yeah, with the unfortunately purified Covenant of Steel, that means Bloody Baron is going to have a nice last save reset on Dagur. Is definitely going to be their play. But let's go with the Hemdall play here. They have 4 cards in their range row. However, when combined with Ulula, it adds up to a whole lot more than that. So we take a big lead for that reason. But as I was saying, Bloody Baron is almost certainly going to reset Dagur here, which is going to be a very high value play for them. When combined with their last card, is that enough for them to take the lead from us? Geralt. Oh, well, hold on. Obviously, you can remove Dagur there, but now that means Bloody Baron is not nearly as valuable. It's just a 1-point Baron, and so we'll hold on for the win, even with all those counters. All right, so going up against Scoia'tael here, and this time we have already gotten a good match in which we had just about everything go our way for the first match. Then the second match, we went against a deck that to a certain extent countered us. This time, we've only one choice left. We've got a meme. So I got rid of Dagur and instead replaced him with Melusine and made a few other minor changes to add some additional cultists to our deck. So we want to keep Melusine in deck. She is going to be our Sove target. So we very much need to have Sove. We need to keep Melusine in deck, and that is our big galaxy brain plan here, is to basically get that huge combo happening. Let's dump a little more of the bronzes here. In terms of our round 1 win condition, though, what is that? What is that? Because we'd like to save Harald. We could use Ulula and then bring her back with Sigrdrifa's Rite in a later round if necessary. We might need to go that route, because otherwise we are relying entirely on those bronzes, and I don't love that prospect. I think we're going to have to do that. Okay, so we do this. We're playing her first, so we probably don't want to use our leader ability in this round in that case. We are basically saying her first, and then using our other warriors to deal more damage now. Now, they probably have some damaging nature cards, I'd imagine, which, when combined with the Guardian, may be enough to destroy her. Yeah, I was about to say, technically speaking, them being forced into playing nature cards early is suboptimal for them, because they don't have as much Symbiosis on the board, so they're getting less value out of their Wandering Tree Ants then. But I kind of forgot that they had the 2 damage on the Guardian as well, which meant it was still possible for them to take out Ulula with just 1 of those nature cards. So yeah, that's probably still a trade that they are more than happy to make. So that does stink. We could still bring her back with Sigrdrifa's Rite, but I was kind of assuming that was not going to be something we needed to do as early as our second turn. So why don't we instead, next turn might be Brokvar Warrior, but it means we probably don't want to hit you just yet with the Hunter. If we go Feral Bond, and you do now have a damaged card. So I think we might even just go War Crier here. So you will now get boosted. And I don't want to, destroy anyone yet, because now we have some nice options here with the Brokvar Warrior. Remember, if you destroy anything with this guy, then his chaining deployability ends. So you don't want to really do that. Which is why having a couple of 4-power cards is nice, then we can finish on the tree ends. The last 1-point damage doesn't really matter much. The earlier we played the Hunter, the better, so I guess you could make a case for going Hunter here, and then you can hit this tree ends, and then it doesn't really matter if this is on 1 power, 2 power, or whatever. We would like for you not to use Tactical Advantage, though, because then that would slow down a Warrior. But, yeah, I guess suppose we're still looking at this then. They are, of course, gonna, yeah, get more vitality on this abandoned girl now, and more symbiosis happening. So I think in that case, and also, if we were to use Sigrdrifa's Rite to get Ulula back, then obviously that would make our warriors more effective. But I think we go warrior, hit you first. You will still be damaged in that case, and then we can go after these guardians. The later rounds of said damage. So that's still enough to get you down. And that. Then that. Now, admittedly, we do kind of need them to play one other card or boost, actually with tactical advantage, because otherwise we're going to end up destroying one of these things with the warrior. That would get you to 4. Okay, now that doesn't quite work, but we could hit you. That doesn't work, because you have Symbiosis, or rather you have Veil. And also that guy wasn't really doing anything anymore. But we could hit you, actually drop you down to a 6, and then that would make this warrior capable of chaining together a lot of damage, so I think we probably will go that route. This does, however, really make me wonder. I was thinking about, if you were not going Devotion, using something like Regis in these new warrior decks, because they don't currently have a 2. Obviously, we could set up a 2. We need initiative for Regis, but there's just definitely some potential for some huge Regis plays with this new deck, so that's something to consider. Oh. Well, I got the order of operations wrong. Got all distracted talking about Regis. Oops. Yeah, that we missed out on a lot of damage there for that reason. So yeah, again, you can't get the death blow with these guys, and you also need to make sure that when you hit the card, it has red. It is below its starting power. There's Aquin. I'm actually surprised they did not use Aquin earlier. Because the earlier the better, really. And, you know, had we more successfully played our previous turn, then perhaps that would have... so we would be faring a little bit better here, but granted, we've been pretty much relying exclusively on the 4 provision bronze units here. So, you know, unless we were going to bring back Ulula, which we seem to kind of made the decision that that's not something we're going to do, then probably was not going to be the highest chance of us succeeding here in round 1. So I think we're just investing very little in this round. Okay, so once again, at the moment, I think Sigrdrifa's Rite into Ulula remains the best target for that. We have a better Herald. Now we'd at least be willing, although wouldn't love, to play him in this round. They did play one more card than us, so they may drive past, in which case having something that we can just throw away would be nice. Disgrace Brawler is one of those warrior cultists that I added to the deck, just so we had some cultists to go along with Melusine if necessary. So that's why you're seeing this now. But maybe we don't need both of these guys. Okay, and Herkja is bigger if they do try to push here, which it's looking like they will. Or not. I take it back. Alright, so yes, we'll use you as our throwaway then. Okay, so we made it into round 3. And that was big, given how round 1 did not go terribly well. Okay, and this is actually huge, because we drew into Sove, which is, of course, the big card that we were planning to play around with Melusine. Melusine is still in deck. That's also crucially important, so we can set that up. We have other big cards remaining. We waited to play Harald. He is now fully evolved. Having Herkja is a nice thing to build around. I added the Bear Witcher Mentors, the other thing. Since we added a much bigger beast with Melusine, I took out the Raging Bear, and with that 5 provision slot, use this Bear Witcher Mentor as a finisher. We can use either you or Champion's Charge to remove... Okay, no, we gotta get rid of Melusine, though. To remove Melusine when we get her onto our opponent's side. So, we have... Oh, man. Oh, man. Some very, very interesting stuff to consider here. I think we might proceed to do Sigrdrifa's Rite first into Ulula. Because the earlier we get her on the board, the more we benefit from the extra damage for all of our warriors. I don't actually want to destroy Melusine when we get her on our opponent's side of the board. Tell you what, let's go Patricidal Fury first. I guess we're gonna end up summoning Ulula, so this... Well, yeah, if we have her on the board when we use this, then we still would have had Patricide destroy, rather than put the 1 power Deafening Sirens on the board. And I do want the 1 power Deafening Sirens, because It will make it at least more feasible for us to destroy Melusine, but given how we have, in particular, either Champion's Charge or the Rupture here, don't need to be too concerned about that. And now that you have a unit that has immunity, so it would normally be very difficult for us to hit, but it's a unit that we could say, oh, I don't know, put a Melusine next to and deal damage to you. Yeah, that's totally what we're doing here. That is totally what we're doing here. Use this, put Melusine on their side of the board. Now, Melusine is going to take a lot of damage. She's going to hit Ethne every turn. She will get stronger every turn as well. They could use this order ability. It would drop her down to a 1. But that's, you know, she's gonna stay alive unless they damage themselves, which I don't even think they could do. The reason why the infusion works is because when you summon Melusine, she does not gain that veil, so it's still possible to do this. So I'm really curious to see how they react to this. Oh, okay. They give her more power, so they're saying, all right, you're gonna give me Melusine, I'm gonna build around here, but the thing is, they did not give her veil. So we could still destroy her with either the Rupture on, well, technically, Rupture's probably not gonna be enough. I mean, your base power will go up, so it might still be possible, but more likely it's gonna be Melusine will be our Champion's Charge target. So I'm thrilled to see how that plays out. But for the moment, let's see, let's go Herkja next, I think. Because Herkja with Ulula is potential for amazing damage. We do want to make sure we still have more cards with Death Wish here. So, I mean, technically speaking, you could make the case that there's a potential this could backfire on us a little bit. But I'm assuming we will still have enough damage cards to pull this off. And we should probably get Harald out as well. Technically, that was probably preferable to Herkja on that turn. Okay, so let's go Harald here. And with him, we will... What's our preference? Brokvar Warrior, you're on 6, which means we could get you damaged. And then either triggering the death blow here or just hitting Melusine, which is basically wasted damage because we're going to destroy Melusine anyway. I mean, it's not perfect, but we might still do it anyway. Could go Brokvar Hunter. It's early enough. Maybe we go Brokvar Hunter. It is early enough that is... not terrible. Load up on that damage there, and we can try to focus our damage on you instead. And actually, I mean, that's tempting. It's not enough to destroy you yet, but we'll do it. So it's really close, and that might mean that Archer can destroy, or random damage from Herkja. Thank you, Herkja. Okay, they will use the rain, so it hurts their Melusine a little bit, but they presumably don't have any cultists, so she's not about to go down anytime soon. So we want to try to keep these Deafening Sirens on 1 power, and this Ethne is probably going to remain damaged for the entire round, or eventually Melusine might actually destroy her. So, I mean, again, that is technically, it could be reason to use Herkja a little bit early so that we don't accidentally take out these 1-power Deafening Sirens, because those are really useful for us at the moment. But, yeah, I mean, other stuff is going to give us potentially some random damage. Archer, what, with 1, 2, 3... damage units is not great against the Hamadryad, but it's an option. I might even use Herkja here early in this row. Again, just to limit. Gonna do this. Gonna hit you. And it is actually enough. Okay, so that's cool. It's probably gonna destroy the Wandering Tree Ant. Yes. Actually deals a pretty big chunk of damage to Ethne. We might need to rush the Sove a little bit. Oh no, okay. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. More damage units. Ethne is going to remain damaged for a while now, but she's not about to get destroyed by Melusine, so it's not like we urgently need to use Champion's Charge because we're about to lose that Bloodthirst kicking in. You're also going to be damaged. Wandering Treant on this side means there's still something that's getting damaged from Melusine over there as well, so all looking fine, and even gives us a little bit more margin for error here, so we could perhaps break out the Drummond Berserker and not be too concerned about the random damage maybe hitting this Deafening Siren or something like that. Or potentially destroying Ethne. I mean, oh no, we might destroy one of their better cards. What a shame. That is a shame. But let's hit you. So it is probably going to end up destroying... Okay. Ethne might get destroyed early. So the thing is, yes, Melusine is sabotaging them by dealing extra damage to them, and she is now on 15 base power, which means that's going to be huge for Sove. And we're just going to have to hope that they do not have something like a Scorch, but no, they have Devotion, so they don't have Scorch, they don't have Ignite, so we should be safe here, technically speaking. Okay, let's see. That is not great, though. That is not great, because suddenly we are lacking the Bloodthirst. That's a problem. So Brokvar Hunter can help hit some stuff, yes, but we need some higher base power cards so we can actually damage them in the first place. Otherwise, I mean, worst comes to worst, we settle for, you know, like using Champion's Charge on you or something like that. Or we settle for, well, you know, hey, we killed Ethne at the very least. So that's where, having something like Hemdall could have been useful. Just the random procs of damage and Melusine actually helping to take out some of their stuff being a little bit of an issue. We could rupture you. They wouldn't rule that out. I actually think I'm about to do that. Because, oh man. Hey, Melusine is damaged. That's one more card that is now damaged. Hoping you will be damaged at the end of this turn between Melusine and that rupture damage, which we might need to... Wow, that is a late Frexnet. We might need to go with the, let's see. Might need to go Champion's Charge here, because we are at Bloodthirst 3. Ethne, if she gets hit by anything, is going to get dropped down. I mean, we can use the Hunter. I mean, how greedy are we going to be, right? I mean, I really want to make this work. I really want to get a 19-point Melusine destroyed to power up Sove. I really want to make that work. So I am concerned about losing Ethne. Oh no! We destroyed their best card. What a shame. But maybe if we hit you, get the... But you're going to get Vitality? No, maybe not. Hit you, and it's less likely that that'll get Vitality. And then drop Bear Witcher Mentor. Maybe we do that. Oh. Maybe we don't do that. Because I forgot that Ulula was going to destroy that. Yeah. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, how big is it? It's a 49-point Sove, in case you were wondering. It is a 49-point Sove, so in case you were wondering, hey, is it possible to use Melusine to power up Sove? Yes, it is, and our opponent forfeits. So there's a look at a Skellige Warriors deck using cards from the new Gwent Chronicles expansion. If you liked the video, then make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment down below. Let me know which other cards, archetypes, and factions you'd like us to experiment with next. Thank you all for watching, and I'll catch you next time.